Another interesting kind of matrix array thingy that we can have is to actually have a multidimensional array or a multidimensional matrix. So say in the past we've got a bunch of test scores. So I'm going to pull them from over here. I've got a bunch of test scores and say that these are like part 1, part 2. So I think I've actually got it kind of typed out in a pretty way. So I have stuff like this. I'll just copy this part so you can see it. So I've got test 1, student A, student B, student C, and then part 1 and part 2 because there's 2 parts of the test. So I've got this information for 4 different tests and 2 different pieces of information per student. So really I've got whatever 6 times 4 is 24 different pieces of data. So traditionally in MATLAB we've had to do this. So if I wanted to know something like what is the average of all tests part 1 for student A. So basically what I'd have to do is I'd have to say, okay, test 1 scores student A, so that's the first row, first column, and then I have to do the second one, so first row, first column, and then test 3 scores first row, first column, and then test 4 scores first row, first column, and then I have to find my answer is all of that divided by 4, and yay, I have an answer. Now this is also very annoying. So there's actually a better way to do this in MATLAB. There's something that MATLAB has where basically instead of having just like a page, so if you consider this as being a page, like this is a little note card that has information on it, instead of just having one page, I could have like a filing cabinet full of information. So instead of having to have a separate variable for each page in the filing cabinet, I can just have one filing cabinet. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I can say all scores, and I can say all rows, all columns, first page, and then I can throw these in here. Okay, so all rows, all columns, first page. Okay, then I can do it again. All scores, all rows, all columns, second page. And then it goes like this. So let me show you, I'll just run that little bit and I'll show you what that looks like. So you can see that I now have all scores. The first one is the first test 1 scores, and then the second page are the test 2 scores. So first page here, second page here. So actually I can keep going now. All scores, all rows, all columns, third page. And then put in the new information. All scores, all rows, all columns, fourth page, and then put in that right there. Choo! All right, so now if I just type all scores, did I see clear this to start? Probably not. Okay, so now if I run this, I can see that I now have 4 pages of data. There's the first page, second page, third page, and fourth page. So I now have 4 pages of data with all scores. Now this makes it so much easier again, or so much easier than it was before. So now if I want to know what is the average of all tests part 1 for student A, well, let's at least see if we can get them listed. So whatever is going to be all scores, okay, all tests. So how do I do this? So part 1 is going to be the first column. So part 1 is the first column. Student A is the first row. So I'm going to rewrite this again just so that I know what's going on. So part 1 is the first column. Student A is the first row. And then this, all tests, that really means all pages. Okay, so first row, first column, all pages. So this is going to give me all of the part 1 test scores for student A. So his part 1 test scores should be 86, 95, 84, and 90. So if I look, I have 86, 95, 84, and 90. So those are his part A, or part 1 scores for student A. Now I could actually take the mean of that, and then that will get me the same answer that I got before, which is 88.75. And this is a way, way, way simpler than this, especially if I have 526,000 tests. So this is clearly a much, much better much better solution. Okay, so you can kind of change this, and I'll say, well, what is the average of all tests? And instead of just saying part 1, or I say part 1, I'll say for all students. Okay, so this is something we've got to be a little careful about. So let's just first get the actual values. So all tests means that it's going to be all pages. So remember whenever we wrote this, that this was in the order of row, column, page. I don't know if it's really called page. I just like calling page because I like to think about filing cabinets. It's like a card catalog. All right, so part 1 is still the first column. And for all students, that means for all rows. All right, so just take a minute and see if you can at least type what goes in between these parentheses. So pause the video, think about it, see what you can come up with. And we're going to assume that happened. Okay, so all rows, first column, all pages. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to run that, and that's going to give me the first. So that should make sense. So that's 86, 98, 92. So that's 86, 98, 92. Okay, so those are the first part for all the different students. So now if I was going to average this, I always have to be careful exactly what I'm going to get. So let's see what happens whenever we average it the first time. We might have to average it a second time. Yeah, so whenever we average it the first time, take a look and see what it did. So I'm going to just show this. So the first time I did it, when I didn't average them, I got, well, like for the first page, I got 86, 98, and 82. So I got 86, 98, and 82, I think. Yeah, 86, 98, and 82. All right, whenever I took the mean, I'll bet you that 88.67 is the average of that. So I'll just say, thank you. Whoa! Oh, because I have to put it in little thingies. There, yeah, so that was the 88.67. So it's actually taking the mean per page, kind of like you would expect it to. It's like whenever we would do the average of a matrix, it would do it by column. Well, since we have things divided out into pages, then it's going to go by pages. So if I want to get the average across all of them, I'm going to have to average the average. And then that will give me the average across everything. So the average of, thank you, all of those would be that 89.8. Okay, kind of getting the idea? All right, let me give you some practice. So I'm going to come over here and grab some good questions. All right. All right. So here are a bunch of questions. So for all of these, so take a minute, pause the video, see if you can get any of these done. So pause, and I'll sing. I got Parmesan garlic popcorn. I'm not sure about it. Okay. This would actually make more sense if you weren't pausing the video and just listening to me talking. And in which case, if you did pause the video and now you're listening to me talking, it's even worse. All right, so as we're going through, what you want to do is if you're like, well, I didn't get any of them. Like, okay, well then watch like 1 or 2 and see, oh, okay, I get it now. I'm going to pause it and I'm going to do this. Or maybe you got stuck on some, and that's okay. Because I'm probably going to get stuck on them maybe while we're doing them because I haven't thought about this in a while. So we're going to find the score of the third student, second part, fourth test. All right, so the students, if I remember correctly, yeah, the students are the rows. So student 3, third student, second part, fourth test. Bam. Well, you can't see what I did, but bam. That's the answer, 92. And I can go check, so it's not like I'm without means. Third student, second part, fourth test. So this is a fourth test. Third student, second part, 92. Did I get 92? Yay! Okay. All right. So the score of all the students on the first test, all parts. All right. Can't spell. That's all right. So the students, I'm going to write this out because I keep forgetting. So the student are the rows, and the parts are the columns, and the tests are the pages. Okay. So all the students on the first test, all parts. So all parts, first test. So if you're working things like this, you always want to kind of reorder them. So I'm going to say for all students, all parts, first test. And that way it kind of makes sense with what I have written. So I have all students, all parts, first test. Okay, so now I want to know the average of all the students on the second test, part 2. So I'm going to rewrite this again. So I have all students, part 2, test 2. Okay, so if you're like, oh, I get what we're doing now, then you should pause the video. Again, I know you've been like spending hours doing this, but that's okay because that's how you learn and stuff. All right, so we have all scores, all students, part 2, test 2, and I'm just going to see what that looks like. Hopefully, there. Yeah. So there we go. Here I'll say this is. All right. So that's giving me 3 values, which makes sense. So now I want to find the average of them. And there we go. Woot. All right. Find the max score of all students on all parts of all tests. So that should be easy, sort of. So I'm going to max all scores. All students, all parts, all tests. Now, I don't expect this to give me the answer. It's probably going to, well, I hate to guess. Let's just see what it happens and then we'll figure it out. That's kind of what I thought. So what it's doing is it's going per page and then per column. I don't know if you can tell that this is per column. But let's go look at our original data. So in our original data, is it going by column? Oh, yeah, because it's the max. Yeah, the max per column. So the max per column in part 1 is 98. The max in the first column in part 2 is 98. And the max of the first column in test 2 would be 97, and that's what I got there. And the max, for test 2 part 1 would be 97. And then test 2 part 2, it is an 82, an 89, and a 99. The max is 99, and so that's where we are. So it's doing it by column, so per page and then by column, which is not terribly surprising now that we've gotten to know MATLAB pretty good. So if I do the max again, I'm guessing that's going to do the max per page. Yep. So we had a 98 and a 99. It's not a 99. 98, 98, it's 98. So now I'm going to have to find the max of the max of the max. And then I get my answer. I'll just label it so I know for sure. Make sense? Alrighty, so that was fun. Now we want to find the scores for all students on part 2 for test 4. And I think that's in the right order. So all students, part 2, test 4. Well, that was kind of easy. Why did we put that there? I don't know. All right, find the average of all parts, test 1, all students. So I'm going to put this back in the right order. All students, all parts, test 1. So I've got all scores, all students, all parts, test 1. I'm going to take the average of that, and I'm betting I'm going to have to do the average twice. Yep, because that's giving me 2 answers, so I'm going to have to do the average twice. So there we go. All right, we got some more. Maybe? Yes. Ooh. If part 1 is worth 90% and part 2 is worth 10%, compute the grade for each student on test 1. I might want to just pull these numbers down here and practice. Okay, test 1. And I'll even copy these. So I want to make sure I get this right. Okay. Okay. So basically what I'm saying is it should be, part 1 is worth 90%. So it should be 86 times 0.9 plus 92 times 0.1. And if you're like, oh, I didn't know that's what you meant, well, this is a great time to pause the video and go get the stupid answer. Because, you know, you're going to need to know it one day. Because math. Plus 98 times 0.1, okay? So what I'm looking for my answers are that, and that. So really, I want this. Like that. Okay, so I want this Those are the answers that I want. And I'm just practicing. That way I know for sure whenever I've actually got it. Okay. So I know that I can get to test 1 scores. I can say I want all students, all parts, first test. Okay. So that would actually give me the scores. But I don't actually want all the scores. Basically what I want to do is I want to multiply the first column by 0.9 and the second column by 0.1. Okay, so here's what I want. I want to do the first column times 0.9 and then plus the second column times 0.1. So really it's not just the first column, it's all rows, because it's all students, all rows, first column, first page, times 0.9. And I'm just kind of playing around with this till, maybe I write it in a way that makes sense to you, and you're like, oh, I see what you're doing. So if it seems like I'm writing the same thing over and over again, it's because I am. I'm trying to write it in like enough ways that it like makes sense and stuff. Okay, so basically I have all rows, first column, first page, times 0.9, all rows, second column, first page, times 0.1. So I want this and I got this. All right, so all scores. All rows, first column, first page, times 0.9, and then all rows, second column, first page, 0.1. I'm going to hit enter and hope it works. Okay, is that what I wanted and what I got? Yay! I got the same answer. Woo-woo! All right, now I don't need this anymore. All right, I got this. This is amazing. Okay, so now that I did this and I'm super excited, now you want me to do this for all the tests, which is stupid. It's actually not stupid. I can totally do this now. So for all tests, basically that means instead of specifying 1 and 1, I'm going to do the same thing. So instead of saying all rows, first column, first page, it's all rows, first column, all pages. And then all rows, second column, all pages. So the first page, instead of just doing it for the first page, I'm going to do it for all the pages. All right. Beautiful? Beautiful. Okay. So I actually have this here, these values here. Okay. So what am I supposed to do? Add this as a third column on each test page. All right, so now this is kind of crazy. Since I have this here, basically, now if you think you like this is like your last chance to get this. If you haven't gotten this, pause it and be like, I'm going to learn. It's going to be amazing. And even if you don't, that's okay, because you learn a lot from trying. It doesn't feel like it. It really doesn't feel like it. But I super duper promise that it happens. And I don't know how. I just know that I cried and I cried and I cried. And I just stared at the computer. And then like magically all of a sudden I could code. Okay. And that's how it works. So there. Now, so really what I want is I want all rows. Now this, I'm going to add a third column, and all pages is going to be equal to the stuff I just made. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to say for all scores, for all rows, for the third column. Now we didn't used to have a third column, but I'm going to add a third column, all pages. Now I want to put in this new information that I came up with. So if I did it right, all right, if I did it right, then I'm gonna copy this just so I have it to look at. So if I do this right, this should appear as a third column on all of the different pages. And go, and I think that worked. So if I look up now, I have 86.6, 97.9, and 83.6. 97.9, 83.6, 93, and those numbers are the same. And those numbers are the same. And those numbers are the same. So now I basically have a first part and a second part and that weighted average. And the first part and the second part and the weighted average. And the first part and the second part and the weighted average for each student. So this is really, really amazing. So I didn't have this in there, but now that I have like the actual score, so basically I want to make sure you understand what's going on. What I have here is I have something that looks like this. And what this is this is student A. okay? And this is student B. And this is student C. All right, and up here, what I have is a bunch of tabs. I have part A, part B, and then test grade, or final test grade, if that makes sense. So this is for test 1. Okay, so for test 1, I have a part A, and I have a part B, and then I have a final test grade. So that's because part A is worth 90%, and part B is worth 10%. I just don't want you to lose sight of what we're doing here. So since part A is worth 90% and part B, what comes before part B? Part A. Then there we go. So basically I have the first part's worth 90%, the second part's worth 10%, so that's going to give you your final test grade. Okay, so then theoretically what you should be able to do is now write or find the test average across all, how many tests do I have? 4 tests? All 4 tests for each student. So this should be a probably going to be a 1 by or 3 by 1 matrix. So you haven't done this already because I didn't ask you to. So now I want you to find the test average across all 4 tests for each student. So what is their actual test average in the class? So pause the video one more time and see if you can get this. All right, we'll pretend that happened. So if I want to think about this, I have all students. Now, this is the last part, so it's not really the part, it's the final test grade. That's column 3. And then all tests. All right, so I think I've got it. I'm going to do mean of all scores of all students, final test grade, and all tests. And I should get 3 answers, 1 for each student. And I run it, and I get 4 answers. So what is this doing? This is actually averaging the page across all pages. That's definitely not what I wanted to happen. So I need to think on this some more. And honestly, up the top of my head, so really what I wanted to do is I wanted to give me the average across the first one, the first row, and then the average across the second row on all the tests. So really what I want is I want that, and then I want this, and then I want that. So just to make sure I'm getting the right answers. So the first guy he's got 4 tests. 4 tests. Yes. So the first guy should have an 86.6, a 93.7, a 85.1 on test 3, and a 89.6 on test 4. So I need to look again. So what I want is the mean of these guys. So let's see if I'm at least getting that. 88.75. Okay, so this is what I want. It's not giving me the answer if I just do this. Do y'all see? So whenever I did that, what it gave me is it actually gave me the average per page, and it didn't give me the average across each person. And that's just because that's the order in which MATLAB does things. So let's see if I can mess around with this. I wonder, so if this was just like a regular thing, I would do transpose. So I wonder what happens if I do transpose. Oh, it yells at me. Permute. What does permute do? Okay. Help permute. Meh. I don't think I want to do that. So probably to make this straightforward, I might just put this into a for loop. or I could just write it out one at a time. So since this is kind of short, and I just deleted what I meant to keep, so this is kind of short, I can actually do this one at a time. If I had like 15 students, I could say, so basically what I want to say is that my overall average is equal to, so the first one is equal to first person, the second one is equal to the second, and then the third one is equal to the third person. So whenever I see myself doing this kind of thing over and over again, I could just do this as a for loop. So I could say for some index going from 1 to 3. All right, so I get you that far. Now pause the video. I know I said this last time, but it wasn't. Pause the video and see how far you can get. This shouldn't take too much work. Overall average, index, mean, all scores, no, index, 3, bottom. So unless someone comes up with a better way to do it, that's how I'm going to set that up. And then I have, so I don't need these anymore. That's about the best way I can think of to do that, is to get, oh, except I suppressed it. So like that. Now, let's just pretend that for some reason I really did want that other thing, which was the mean of, let's pretend I just wanted the max. Let's just do max. All scores, index, not index, all rows, third test. So what does that represent, theoretically? That's all the students, just the last grade per page. So what that's going to do is that's going to give me the maximum score per page among all the tests. So the highest grade on test 1 should have been a 97.9. And if I go and I check, the highest grade on test 1 was 97.9, okay? So you might say, so we'll pretend that this was an assignment, which was find the max per test, max grade per test. All right, so now I have it. And you might be like, I can't spell. You might be like, but this is kind of annoying because see, I've got like pages of data, but there's only one thing on the data. And so there's got to be a way to like just make this like a 4x1 matrix. And the answer is yes, it's actually a cute little function. It makes you want to give hugs and kisses. It's called squeeze. And you squeeze it, and then there are those values, and they're all put into one little thingy instead of all those stupid pages, because you don't need the pages anymore, because you're just looking at the max grade per test. So that's probably more than you ever possibly could have imagined that you ever wanted to know about multidimensional arrays. Congratulations.